Today we find out if the newest card to enter into Marvel is a Toxin to the win rates. Find out what's going on as I hereby invite everyone to join me on my adventures through Marvel Snap. Hey everybody, it's Annabelle. So we have the newest symbiote to enter into Marvel this week, and that is a Toxin. Toxin is feared to be the strongest and most dangerous of their race, second only to Knull. He symbolizes the peak in evolutionary process of the symbiotes, as each generation of symbiote learns from the experience and traits of their predecessors, making them progressively stronger, more adaptable, and more intelligent. And he was lucky enough to be spawned as number 1000 in the symbiote lineage. This granted him with markers that imbue him with unparalleled power. Toxin was combined with a New York City cop one night while that cop was on duty and came across the site where Carnage was giving birth to the new symbiote. Carnage needed a host for this new symbiote fast, so it was bound to him. He soon discovered that he was much faster and stronger than before, and was easily able to subdue any criminal. But before too long, the symbiote had matured enough to gain both consciousness and strength to take over this cop and make him do some very bad things. Toxin has since provided their host with a tough time coexisting, and while the young symbiote has learned how to be a source for good from its host, you'll often see the two of them fighting with each other more than with any kind of criminal. And this cop is now dedicated to a life of a hero, or as close to being a hero as one can be under the influence of a symbiote. And while there are times that the symbiote will win, he is always battling these base urges, trying to find ways to harness his power for good. Toxin is a fairly naive and childish. He has been known to lash out at his host by crippling his combat abilities when he is in danger in order to force the cop to admit that he needs this symbiote. The symbiote expresses a morbid sense of humor and a tendency towards excessive use of violence. They are also curious and manipulative. The symbiote will constantly pester their host with difficult questions in an attempt to have them give into their darker urges. Toxin possesses the same special abilities of symbiote predecessors. He can web swing, stick to walls, change his shape to different person, and has ultimate webbing. And the fangs that you see on him are not only there to intimidate foes, they can deliver a powerful toxic bite. In addition to this, whenever they are starting to lose a battle, they will grow larger and stronger. And they're also one of the few symbiotes that has a strong resistance to sonic waves and intense heat, more than any other symbiote. Toxin is a web-swinging hero that is known for giving its host more strength. This is represented in Marvel Snap, as when he comes into a location, he will rescue each and every one of your other characters at this location, putting them back in with you, and give each one of them a bit more strength. So in Marvel Snap, what this card does is it is a 2 cost, 1 power, with the description of on reveal, return all other cards at its location back to your hand and give each one of those cards at that location plus 2 power. So it comes down at the location, bounces everything back into your hand, and everything that got bounced back to your hand gets plus 2 power. I've been trying to go over this card and find out where it belongs, and unfortunately, when I went through it and looked through everything, I'm giving it a 2-star rating. So let's go over why this ended up as a 2-star rating for me and not higher. So first of all, we got to look at the basic card in here that I think everybody has talked about so far. And that is simply the Beast. This is basically the opposite of Beast, where instead of making it cost less, it gives it +2 power. This comes down on 2 as opposed to 3. There are decks that are basically going to be using both Beast and the Toxin as a way to get stuff out 3 times instead of 2 times. But the problem I see with this particular card is, first of all, it's a small power gain. If you were to look at it just as a small power gain, it basically falls into the same range of being a Madam Web for power, where it's a 2-1. So it's coming down and it's bringing a lot of that power out of that lane. Now, there is some use to that, and that comes with stuff with the last turn, where you can move stuff around, lose the priority, lose the fact that your opponent can do anything about you playing down on that last turn, and that's good. But I was trying to figure out where it comes into. Are you playing it with stuff like Korg, where your whole idea is that you're going to play down a lot of the little cheapy guys? Are you playing it with stuff like Nika Mimura, where you're hoping to get her effect twice, get those effects going? Do you go with Marta and play her down so you can get a big swing in? You know, getting a Marta as a 1/7 is not the end of the world. The problem is that you're giving +2 power to whatever was on the field, which is kind of like throwing a forge on whatever's down there. Now, there's nothing actually wrong with that. It might be a better option, but what you're usually trying to do with the Beast version of this is get stuff cheaper so you can play it again. The problem with stuff like when you're looking at Korg is Korg is not a power spike. He's a 1/4 even with this ability. 1/4 isn't great. And now if you're playing him for 0, that's fine. And there are ways to play him with 0. You can do stuff like Psylocke, you can do stuff like Black Swan. But if you're throwing Black Swan into this deck, you're already locking down a lot of your deck. You have to put Black Swan in your deck, you have to put Toxin in your deck, and you're looking at least 3 1-drops, if not 4 1-drops. So if you're putting 4 1-drops in there with the Toxin and the Black Swan, that's half your deck dedicated to one card. And usually you're probably going to also want like a Hit Monkey in there to get that power spike at the end. So once you do that, you're looking at 7 cards. A lot of your deck is dedicated to making this work. Now, if you can make it work, you are looking at basically a better version of Maximus. And there's nothing wrong with a Maximus being down, where you would normally play a Maximus just to have the power spike. Well, if you manage to get all 3 cards down and play the Toxin on top of 3 cards, that's basically giving you 2/7 worth of power. And it's even better because now this 2/7 is spread out. The problem is again, if you don't have the Black Swan at that point, you have to play extra energy down. None of those cards are actually free. Now, there are some cards that make perfect sense with this. Like, you can play the Sage down. Playing the Sage down, get it out early, play the Toxin on top of it. It's already going to be a 3/2 when it comes down next turn, plus whatever else it had. There's nothing wrong with that. There is a strategy where you basically might play like a Black Widow into this, where Black Widow isn't the greatest power spike, but going from a 3/3 to a 3/5 makes it a good power spike, and getting 2 Widow spikes, there's nothing wrong with it. You don't have to go super heavy into the lane I'm just not sure if you want to go any less heavy than that, because again, the problem is you're not getting that spike off of the toxin itself. The other problem that you have is because where it's sitting in the location of energy-wise, the most you can realistically look at is 4. You can't play down a 5 and then play Toxin on top of it unless you get some sort of weird mana cheat. So turn 4 is the last turn that you can really play down a card that you're getting back with Toxin, because it has to come back to your hand and then you play it down on 6, unless you're getting a limbo or you have some sort of energy cheat. If you do, more power to you. So one of the best cards that you're looking at for a 4 would be something like Shang-Chi. And while it's great to play a second Shang-Chi in the game, if your opponent hasn't done anything to get a 10 by turn 4, you're wasting a slot with a Shang-Chi. The problem that I see with Toxin at this point right now is it fits into one deck. And that deck is the same deck that is currently playing Beast. The one that goes tiny and plays the 1-drops again. But is it worth rolling heavy, rolling hard to get a card that might be the 13th card even in that deck? I'm not sure what you're pulling for it to put it in there. I'm not sure where it belongs. And other than that particular deck, I'm not sure it's giving you enough power in any other deck. You don't want this thing to bounce back one thing, two things. It can't. Like, when it's bouncing back, say, like, even a Hitmonkey, there's nothing wrong with that. Or when it's bouncing back Black Widow, there's nothing wrong with that. But that's not the power spec you're looking for. You want to go heavier. You want to go deeper. I want this card to be decently good. I just don't know where it is decently good other than one deck. And a card that can only fit in one deck. And even in that one deck, I'm not sure if it's the best card for it. It's not a card I can give anything more than a 2 to. And I wish I could. Other than Toxin this week, we've got the Elsa Bloodstone. Elsa Bloodstone is still good. I don't care what anybody else says. She's perfect to set up if you ever have a kitty in your deck. If you get her and you have kitty pride, it's awesome. She's still not bad to get that surprise 2 power. She herself, if you set up everything right, can give +6 power. She's a 3/9, so there's absolutely nothing wrong with her if you can fill up the lanes. And she can even do more than that if you are using stuff like Kitty. The other card that we have in this week is Zabu. Oh man, does Zabu suck. I'm so tired of seeing Zabu in Spotlight Caches. I am so annoyed that Zabu hasn't been brought down to a Series 3. Ever since he got the change from being ongoing, I don't think this is a Series 4 card. I'm sorry. You can argue with me that this isn't a Series 4 card, or that this is a Series 4 card, I should say. But I have not seen anybody praise Zabu since he came back. I've not seen anybody play Zabu since he's come back. It annoys me to a certain degree that Second Dinner changed Zabu just so that it could be maybe caught in this cache, and that people might try to get Zabu in this cache. But people had Zabu for the longest time and it hasn't come back. So right now I'm not sure Zabu is the card that you're looking for on this. So the only card I can say that you're probably looking for is the Elsa. And even that, you have to play a deck that's going to fill. There's nothing wrong with it. You can set that up pretty easily. But I think Toxin doesn't have a home yet, or the home that it's in is one deck, and that's hard to justify a card with. And I don't think Zabu is worth playing still at this point. I will still roll on this because I like to make content, so let's find out what's in our box. Box says Elsa Bloodstone, nice. So on this Friday, if you watch me, I will be playing a Elsa Bloodstone deck where Elsa Bloodstone is featured. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and as always, remember, play for fun.